Welcome to Millennium Counseling Center's podcast, where each week we go in depth into all things mental health, addiction recovery, and being our healthiest and happiest self. Enjoy. What if the strongest thing a man can do was say what he really thinks, feels, and needs? Welcome to the Say What Matters podcast with Oren and Rahsaan.
We've gone deep about a lot of different things, but we've never talked about our dads.
I know.
And this idea of a father wound, even that term father wound, like what does that feel like for you when you hear it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's going to be vulnerable and like expose pain. But at least for me, I've talked personally and professionally with a lot of people around the different things that shape me as a kid and as an adolescent and a young adult from the role of my dad. And so it's also comforting to know that this isn't the first time, that I'm talking about this, with somebody that I know. Did you ever hear any praise from your dad?
No. I think that's where I've always been an overachiever, and part of it is because of that, looking for that praise from both my father and my mother. And there was a point in time where I didn't desire it anymore, where I was like, okay, clearly this is not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to create the praise for myself. I'm going to be the one to praise myself. I'm going to do these amazing things. And I drown myself in work to provide, work as my form of dad. I can achieve these things in work. And they tell me that I've done a good job. They'll compensate me for. And so I became, an overworker in that way. And there was a period where, this is in my 20s sometime, maybe like late 20s, where I decided that I no longer wanted to have a relationship with my dad because it was just detrimental to my mental health. Every phone call we had was a criticism fest, about how I'm not a man, how I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, whatever it was going to be a criticism fest towards me and my behavior. And I was like, yeah, okay, I've had enough of this. We're good. Don't ever call me again. I'm not going to pick up the phone. I won't respond to your emails. Like, I'm good. We're done. And so we didn't speak for maybe like 12 or 13 years. And I was completely fine with it. I'm like, this dude is done for my life. And he was living in Ghana for a while. And this is a different thread for another time. Maybe it's this time. But he had gotten ill when he was in Ghana. And his brother, who I had a decent relationship with, he called me and he's like, your dad needs help. I'm like, I don't like, that dude's dead to me. I don't mess with him like that. And he's like, he really needs your help. He's like trying to navigate the healthcare system. They're talking about amputations. They're all these things. And I'm just like, you're calling the wrong dude. like I have a brother, I have a sister. Holler at them. I just don't mess with this dude. And he was really pushing on me hard to help my dad out. And it's funny how life works at times where I just started doing word of the year, a couple of years before, where you have a word that's your theme word of the year. Mm-hmm. So you pick growth and you're like, I'm going to grow this year. You pick joy. I'm going to be more joyous this year. Well, this was the year that my smart ass decided to pick compassion. And the year that my dad is brought back into my life is the year of compassion, like F&A. So I thought through my compassionate lens, would the most compassionate version of me do? And I feel the heaviness in my chest.
I feel it over here, man.
So the compassionate version was the version that would, help him help his brother and start doing things to navigate this situation. So he got flown from Africa to Indiana to the hospitals there, and I was in London at the time, and I flew back to try to help navigate the situation. And he had some surgeries, and there was a lot going on. And I mean, I was, and literally, I would like wake up in the morning and just repeat it 100, 200, 300 times. Compassion, 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 compassion. Just like
Uh-huh.
actively brainwashing myself that I need to lead with this lens. And I'm really thankful for that time that I came back and got to spend with my dad. It was like a few days because I learned a lot about him. And he was still a lot of who he was, but he was, more frail looking, older, not in the best health at the time. And he told me some things that influenced how I viewed him. One that I didn't know was about his dad. His dad was a heroin addict, and his dad used to abuse both him and his mother. And so, from one of his primary caregivers, he learned the language of love was abuse. And so, how I saw that was one of the threads in my dad's life was if you knew my dad, you've been abused by my dad, emotionally, maybe physically, maybe spiritually, no sexual or anything like that. But it was very like mental manipulation, exhaustion, control, just all this energy. And hearing that, it gave me the first time to really feel like compassion for him because his dad was abusing him physically, emotionally. And that's the language of love that he learned. And so there are numerous moments from my childhood where we would have like a really like nice day out, me, him and my brother as a family. And then at some point in time, he would just turn. He would turn into complaining about people, shouting at people, spitting negative things at people because of the way that he learned to love. So if there was the perfect family day, that was a threat to his sense of safety
Mhm.
because love comes with abuse. And so
Yeah.
he needed
Eh
to interject that.
yeah, another thing that came up for me as you're saying that is, like, it's not safe to be close. So you create things so you're not close. You
100%,
put things between you and others to prevent you from being close because it's not safe.
100%. And then you wouldn't be surprised to hear that that pattern has showed up in my life in some ways of creating
Mhm.
space between others. One thing I learned from my dad, I was thinking about what I've taken from my dad. My personality is in part like a rejection of my dad, where I used to always see how deflated people were and how just like when he would turn, people were like, oh, or people would like come into a room happy and then leave sad and dejected and exhausted after dealing with him. And I never wanted anybody to experience that with me. So like I was actively like, okay, like how can I be the golden retriever in the room? How can I like always bring good vibes? Like how can I be the opposite of my dad? But
Mhm.
that is like a direct response to experiencing him and seeing what people experience by being with him. And so, that's one thing I'm like, thanks, Dad, for my glowing personality, because it's like it's a rejection of him in the way that I carry myself. And I'll go back to the thread with him being like in the hospital. So, yeah, still in my chest, still in my chest. So I hold that compassion for him. And I was leaving the hospital, and he had had some issues with some of the nurses, saying some very unkind things to them. And I was heading back to London. I'm like, okay, like let's have a chat. You know how the doctors, whenever they come into the room, they always have like this envelope or this folder. And you know how they write stuff in it at the beginning, maybe they write stuff in it at the end. So every nurse and every doctor, they open that folder and read what's in it before they start treating you. And the other nurses and doctors write notes. So, like, when they write notes like, oh, this person is a joy to be around, they're the friendliest patient we have, they may give those patients like special treatment. They may like help them do things because they're nice. They also read notes that this patient called me this, or this patient was very difficult. And they're usually not as kind to people that are difficult because they assume you're difficult before the interaction. So you don't want to be in this place. I understand that. But if you want to have like the best experience possible here, you may consider leading with some kindness, saying some nice things, maybe crack a joke, just a nice, funny joke. He's like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. He's like, oh, so like reverse psychology, right? And I'm like, no, motherfucker, regular psychology. Like,
Be a kind human being.
but it's like that's what that type of mindset does,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like you have to destroy, you have to create barriers because somebody's going to do it to you, so you need to do it first.
Yeah.
And that whole communication, like that gave me some compassion for my dad, but that's not the end of it because I'm still angry at my dad. I'm still sad about things my dad have done. I've forgiven my dad. I've done a lot of forgiveness practices towards my dad, and that wound is still there because it's like this incomplete, multifaceted thing. And that's what I've learned throughout like this healing journey is it's being able to hold all of those of like my dad was a beautiful, intelligent man that I learned discipline from, that I learned how to eat from, that I learned how to be like proud about blackness from. He's also emotionally abused me on a daily basis. He called me fat all the time. He said all these things that were negative about me. He's never said anything that's brought me joy. He's also been abused. He's a very intelligent black man living in Chicago, where he's like he told me this story, which was crazy, where his freshman year, he was like the head of the Black Student Union at DePaul. And he had an office at the school, and he was at his office late, and he was coming out of his office, and one of the professors was having very inappropriate relations with a very young student in his office with the door open, and he saw it, and he like kind of ran away, and the professor called the police on a trespasser at the school, and the police came and they arrested my dad, and they took him to downstate Illinois, so like 2 hours outside of
Mm.
Chicago, and put him in solitary confinement for 2 months. He was in jail for 2 months, his first year of university. His mother didn't know where he was. His teachers didn't know where he was. They didn't give him any phone calls. They didn't give him anything. And he told me this story when I was with him. Like, how are you going to see the world when these are the experiences that are being shown to you that this is how the world sees you? And it's like, man, that's deep. So
That is
like
deep.
I can hold compassion in my heart for him for experiencing those things,
Yeah.
and it doesn't take away my experience. And so it's like, how do you live with multiple things being true at the same time? And that's what healing my dad has been for me, to hold him in all these different roles and places at the same time because they're all true.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think about how complicated and gray life is. Not the color, but like just messy, right? A mix of all the colors you end up with, like, and it's just, you can't understand it. There isn't the capacity to fully understand how all of that comes together and like make sense of it.
Yeah. And I think for me, some things never make sense,
Mhm.
but it's like, can I be at peace with it? Can I be okay with it? Can I live with it? Can I
Mhm.
live with the fact that I may always have a little bit of anger at my dad, even though he's not on this earth anymore. I may always have some sadness from my dad, even though he's not on earth anymore. Also have some things that I'm really thankful. One, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for him. So
Mhm.
my life is a direct extension of him even existing.
Mhm.
And like I love myself. And so I'm thankful for him. You know what I'm saying? Like question mark. I'm thankful for him.
Yeah, I mean, my business partner and I say regularly that our top 5 most painful moments in our life are the things that we're most grateful for,
Mhm.
because it's given us the most amount of lessons and growing opportunities, and it wasn't gratitude right away, but yeah, it's fascinating that both of us are like, list your top 5 most painful things that have happened in your life, and how do you look at them today? And gratitude is, number 1.
Yeah.
And the joke in therapy is, did you pick the profession or did the profession pick you? It was almost like the things that happened and the ways that they did prepared me to do the things that I do in the most perfect way.
Mm, I love that. I love that.
And painful, really painful along the way. But, again, knowing that I'm going to be sitting in front of and with men who aren't going to become therapists, but have been through really challenging things and need, like you said earlier, the space held by somebody who has walked it and who understands it and is not afraid to go to those places.
Yeah. That's the most important thing for me, having done a lot of healing work, is I worked with a coach to work through some of this stuff with my dad and with some other issues as well. And having someone who can hold space because of the complexity of these issues and the depths of these issues has been invaluable to me because of, I spent some time with this person and I hear their story and I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to open up to somebody, I think they may be able to take it
Mhm, mhm.
because they've been to some places.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I didn't realize that would happen with like a healing journey was there actually being like another side to it, where I always thought there would be this like baseline sadness underneath. I consign myself to like, I'm going to be sad the rest of my life. That's just like what life is. Life is all these experiences, and then you have this level of sadness that's like your river that runs through every experience.
Mhm.
And that level of sadness isn't there for me anymore. And it's really about being able to hold all these different experiences together. And there were some that I was intentionally not looking at or in denial or kind of seeing the pattern show up over and over. And I'm just not going to deal with that. But like once you share light to it, once you make friends with it, like it doesn't have that same energetic pull. It's not as charged as it was before.
Mhm.
And taking some of the charge out of the things, the experiences that become our scars is everything because that charge, it shows up every day. And
Mhm.
that's for me, that's kind of eventually what led me into this work was my scars were showing up every day to a point where I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Where I wasn't showing up to my friends, I wasn't showing up to my family, I wasn't showing up at work in the way that I wanted to because the scars that I was intentionally numbing or ignoring were just getting more and more charged because they needed to be dealt with.
Yeah. Well, you asked me what advice I would give, and I want to ask you that, but it seems like the advice that I heard you just give was if you think something is going to be forever, to just start because it's not going to be forever if you start.
100%. And you don't have to walk it alone is
Mhm.
a big one. And I think that's where was part of my journey as well. I think I've seen therapists in the past, and there were things that I didn't feel comfortable opening up with, even with my therapist. And then there was a lot of work that I decided to do alone. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, all the meditation, all the journaling, all the retreats. I'm just gonna get into it. And there were some things I just couldn't crack by myself. And I'm so happy that I decided to walk with someone because it's like sometimes it's just having somebody hold that space, having somebody listen and allowing you to say things that you've never said before. And what happens when you hear yourself say things you never said before? Anything can happen.
I know.
And
I know,
so,
man.
yeah, I'm super thankful for that.
Mm. Well, you matter a lot to me. Like you said, we've known each other decades now and have, I feel like, a kind of relationship that has a lot of layers.
Definitely.
We can be focused on fun, we can focus on connection, we can be really social, we can be deep, and we can talk more regularly. We can have time in between talking, and I'm really grateful for that. And even though I've maybe said a lot of the things that I said to you earlier, saying them in this setting with you, made me see different things or feel different things, which, I value.
Yeah.
As the better I get to know myself, better I'm gonna be for all the people in my life that matter.
100%. And yeah, thank you for that because I love those moments, man. And same for you. It's like you hear something in your voice and you're like, oh shit, is this about to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, you saw that pause right in the middle
Yep,
there, right?
yep.
And it
It's
was
like,
like,
all right.
"Okay, yeah,
All
you
right,
asked for it."
if we doing it.
Uh-huh. No holding back.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for your openness and providing the space and providing the safety to have this type of conversation.
Yeah,
And
man.
I hope it's the first of many conversations that we
I know
have.
this is not done.
Yeah. So
This
I
doesn't
do
feel done.
appreciate yeah, I appreciate the depth in our relationship. And yeah, let's keep on digging. Let's keep
Good,
on
man.
digging.
Awesome, Ron. Thank you for joining us on Say What Matters podcast. To follow Oren or Rahsaan on social media or in other places, please see our information in the show notes.